Good afternoon, everyone. Using my awesome YouTube edit skills, because like I said, I don't care to become a professional. I just care about getting information out. I would just like to include this advertisement. Thank you for your time. Now, oh shit. Okay. So this HR 925 bill. I'm on, what page did I leave off at? Oh, I stopped reading last night around page 1500. Yeah, still not done yet. But so I'm going to break this video up into obviously a couple different sections because the attention span of people is 5 seconds and there's so many different sections of this. I'd rather have my videos spread out into sections. But if you want a good idea of how to determine how much Congress cares about you, we, the people, or what they care about, you don't have to look any further than this bill. So, quick side note before I start this one, I would just like to point out, because I'm going to be talking about where the money's going to on this. They have set aside $1.2 billion for Puerto Rico. But, oh well. So this is going to come to my first section here, the prison system. And we all know how much America loves its prison system and incarceration rates. So for the additional amount of salaries and expenses, $620 million to prepare for, respond to coronavirus, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, funding for medical testing services, PPE, hygiene supplies. Okay. Now, this is interesting because when you read up on the corona vaccine and who is supposedly supposed to get it first, well, it's supposed to be frontline workers, so hospital workers. And then it goes into talking about the elderly and prisoners. I forgot exact the terminology they used, but they made it sound like they were part of the essential workers. Not to sound like a dick, but the elderly and prisoners. One of those groups, even though they are most likely retired, is still going to be more productive to society than the other. Think about that. So 620 million, right? And then, though, you come down here. This gets great. So this has to do with violence against women, okay? There's a section in here. Now, 375 million. Okay, decent amount, right, compared to prisons. Then it breaks it down. 100 million is for formula grants to states and territories to combat violence against women, as authorized by this bill. There is so many bills, I swear. After I could probably take a full year and then I would probably fully understand Congress and these bills, but there's so many bills in here. I mean, they cite bills from 1937. So there's that ominous Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1960. Okay, 40 million. Transitional housing assistance grants for victims of domestic violence. Okay, dating violence, stalking, etc. So 100 million goes to combat violence. Now, how? I have no idea. That is so vague. How do you combat violence? Like, on a state level, like, what do you do? I mean, yeah, you set up things and programs, and then you do only 40 million for housing. I think a good way to combat domestic violence would be to put more money towards housing and then get the information out there that, hey, if you are in an abusive relationship, we can take you. So 100 million for sexual assault. And then check this out right here. This is hilarious. A measly $20 million for rural domestic violence and child abuse enforcement assistance grants. Does that mean money for like social workers and stuff? A measly 20 million fucking dollars. And everyone, a lot of you know, since Corona, domestic violence and stuff has gone up because people are at home with their significant others and they forgot how much they hate one another. But, and then, child abuse, measly 20 million. And 15 million for grants to support families in the justice system as authorized by this law. I forgot what that one meant. I actually looked that up last night and then I couldn't find it. Oh, this has to do with child trafficking and stuff. And what's fucked up about this law is I didn't look into it enough because that one's pretty lengthy too, and I'm trying not to go off on tangents. This talks about exemptions for people who profited from child trafficking. No bullshit. That is in there. If you do not believe me, trust me, I would be more than happy to go back and make a fucking video on that. And then you have 50 million for tribal governments. One thing I've noticed throughout this entire bill is Native Americans, they get shit on hard by this bill. So, and culturally specific services for victims of domestic violence, blah, 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 blah. But you can see where I'm going with this. The amount of money that they dump into prison systems versus, domestic violence, it's half. So, and then you can see where they're broke down to. So this just correlates from my last video about how they want to spend all this money on election security, but then they only want to spend $1 million to do research combating misinformation. So, yep, that's government spending at its finest.